Hello, this is Bob of Liquid Circuit, and I'm going to do a little something different today. I'm going to do a tutorial how to jam out on a simple electronic music setup. This is what I got here that we're working with. Got these two drum machines. Well, one is a bass synthesizer that I'm kind of using as a drum machine, sort of. And then we've also got the Yamaha CS15 and the Casio VA10. And let's go through them one at a time here. The RD6 is basically a copy of the Roland TR606 drum machine. It does have a couple little upgrades. It has this little distortion section over here. It has this little switch that allows you to change the clap to a cymbal, and the MIDI implementation is better. I believe the original did not have an out through. This does. And what else? There's not much more. It's a pretty simple unit. You know, it does have a USB, and you can hook it up to the computer and edit patterns on there if you want, but I like to keep it simple. Then we've got the TD3. This is the MO version, which is the modded version, and that is a copy of the Roland TB303, which is like the main acid music element from the 90s and early 2000s that basically made the acid genere. It's awesome. And then the modded version adds a series of mods. Some of them were for sale by a company in Australia. You had to buy a $2,000 303 and then send it to Australia, hope nothing happened to it, pay them another, I think it was over $1,000 to have them mod it, and yeah, so then you'd end up with a $3,000 or $4,000 museum piece that you can't take out and play out with, basically, unless you're Chemical Brothers or something. So this is good. You can take this anywhere, do anything with it, and it'll be there for you. And if anything happens, you can just buy another one for $149.99 on Amazon. So great sounds, very versatile. I've got it hooked up through MIDI to the RD6, and they're great friends. We'll go through that. The way I've got them hooked up, so the RD6 has multiple outputs for any of the voices. However, I am using the headphone output and the 1/4 inch output from it. The headphone output I have going into the VA10 here, and I am using the effects on the VA10 for effects for it. I've got a delay on it right now. You could use any of these effects in blue here. A lot of them have 2 parameters. You just switch with those there. It's definitely spices it up quite a bit. And then the other output I've got going into the Yamaha here, into the external, and the external on this, it triggers the synth voices on it, so that really again spices things up. I could use the trigger out and go into one of the voices separately, but the way I've got it, it works good, and it's only just the sound cable going into it. So the Yamaha is actually this channel. This is one channel on it, the top row, and this is the bottom channel. It's actually a dual phonic synthesizer, meaning that each of these, the separate voices on it, have their own separate control volt input and trigger input. So you can control each of them separately, externally, or control one of them externally and then play with the other one, or you can layer them together and play both of them from the keyboard. So you got a lot of options with this. There's quite a bit going on here as far as sound design. So in practice, let's give this thing a shot here. So these lights on the RD6, they basically specify which patterns are going to play. If I just had this light on, it would just play pattern 1. If I hit 2 of them, it'll go to pattern 1, then to pattern 2, then back to pattern 1. If you put 3 of them, it'll do the same thing, but with all 3 of the patterns. So, well, in the spirit of a jam, I've got this turned down right now, and I have the TD3 turned up. So when we hit start, oh no, that's not start. When we hit start, we're just hearing the TD3. And then we can bring in the drums. Now this is also going through the VA10 here, so let's turn that down so you don't hear that. Turn up the volume on this. You're only hearing now what's coming through the keyboard, because I don't have the RD6 plugged into its own channel. I'm using this little 4-track back here to process everything. It's a Tascam 4-track. There's no DAW here. Well, unless you call that a DAW, but it's just a 4-track. It has 2 individual inputs that I can plug microphones or 1/4-inch cables into, and then it has a headphone jack that I have the Casio plugged into the headphone jack, and that's 3 and 4. You can see on the screen here, I think, those are our 4 channels. You can see I've got 3 and 4 down. Let's turn them up. Oh yeah, we're not going to hear it because I got the microphone volume down, which is the volume for the drums. So that's what it turned up a little bit. And it's a flanger and delay effect. And now we've got pretty good signals on the channels. We don't want to get too fancy there. If we go past this little arrow here, then it could be bad. We don't want to ruin the recording. Alright, so now that we're hearing it, we can take some elements out to hear what's really going on. So let's take the TD3 out. Now everything that you hear is from just the drum machine now. Now if you notice here, we have the VCO1 down. Let's turn that up a little bit and see what that does. See, it's being triggered by the drum pattern. That might be a little loud, but it's cool for an example. Brilliance is like basically it controls the cutoff for both channels at one time, but it's on this nice convenient slider. So let's try that. And again, that's a little much, but we can bring it back down. You can see when the envelope is getting triggered here with that flashing light, which is a really nice visual indication. And what we can do is I'm gonna turn down the volume here on the RD6, and you can watch how it's getting triggered and how it changes, and it won't trigger as much with it down. See? It's only triggering on part of the pattern now. If I get it just at the right sweet spot. And now that it's only triggering on part of it, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Go into the individual. And then, now that that's like that, we can replace some of that element with this from the VA10. Okay. Now I'm going to bring up a little bit of the bass synth. Alright, so this high pitched sound that we're hearing from this guy, we've got a little spillover onto the VCO too. So we can make that a different octave, bring it down an octave right here. That's a little bit better on the ears. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you change the key on the synthesizer. You can always refer back to that flashing light up here to see where it's being triggered. So I'm going to bring our volume here on the RD6 down. I'm going to leave the camera pointed over here at the flashing light. That's sounds a little uncomfortably loud still. That's easy enough. That fits in the mix much better like that. We don't have to make it leave, we just got to get it down where It's not running the show. And you can do, there's all different things you can do, but here at this point we can just hit the distortion on. I think it's at a good level. Always wait until it comes back to the 1. And then we're going to do the same thing, wait till the 1, and then I'm going to drop the volume right down. Yeah, this would be a lot easier with the mixer, but we don't have that. Basically, that's the kind of thing that you can do. Now we're hearing this drone. I'm gonna just turn these guys down, and yeah, that's basically how you play around with that stuff. I'm gonna do some more in-depth stuff at some point, and I'll show you how to make a pattern at some point. But I just wanted to give you a little taste of what all is possible with these relatively inexpensive units. The RD6, I believe I got that for like $104 on Amazon. The TD3 MO, I'm not exactly sure how much I paid for it, but right now they're charging $149 for them on Amazon. The VA10, I have 2 of them actually, and I think I paid $200 for one of them and $100 for the other one. They probably cost more than that now. I've had them since 2004 or something. And the Yamaha CS15, I got it late at night on eBay back in 2003, 2004. It came up with a buy it now at like 2 in the morning for $200. It was mint condition. I've beat it up a little bit, but I've had it for 20 years and used it heavily. So this is the kind of stuff that you could bring out and play in a smoky bar and not be stressed. That's why I brought it down here to Florida, out here in the wilderness, because I'm not going to say they're expendable items, but they're replaceable items if anything were to happen. Not out here with a Jupiter 6 or a Juno, or these are relatively inexpensive for anybody to get into electronic music with. You could use something else that's cheap in place of the Casio. This is what I have. I'm sure you could find something with fancier effects. For the synthesizer, Behringer has a bunch of cheap synthesizers right now that you can that are reissues of long out of print units. So I mean, equipment is not a barrier. It is available, and it's analog. All these are analog, except for the VA10. So you can get your hands on some good stuff and jam if you are interested. and it's always a learning experience. It never ends. But the first step is the most important, so get that stuff and get yourself a couple units to start with. I would say you need at least 2 to play off of each other and start making some original stuff. Alright, I'm going to do more of these. I will see you soon. Check out my releases on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Bandcamp would be great. Support the cause over there, and that'll get me a DJ mixer that way. That's really the preferred way to mix all these things, rather than turning knobs real quick. If you have a nice button that you can push, or a switch that you can flick right at the right moment, it's much more accurate.